This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, Roslyn Watkins of Farmview. Roslyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to the conversation. You're welcome. We're happy to have another guest on. I don't know much about your business, so sometimes, all the time, I find that quite interesting. But a lot of the people that come on the show, we do know of their business, or maybe we work with them or have worked with them. But the audience isn't in that position. So I like being an audience member, whereas I don't know much about the business and really dig into it. So let's start off right at the top. What is Farmview? What do you do, Roslyn?
I publish a newspaper called the Farmview newspaper. It's a monthly publication. It hits most of Central and North Ontario, and it's been in publication since 1977. It's a fantastic news resource, whether you're in the farm community or outside of it. Provides great education for anyone who would like to learn a little more about the ag community.
About the, what was that last part?
Ag, short for agricultural. Sorry.
Agricultural. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So 1977.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you publish it. So does that mean, is it yours in
Yes.
our world? Yes. Okay.
Yes. My father started it with two partners in 1977. Eventually, after a few years, the partners went on to do something else, and my dad carried on. And he retired in 2020, so I purchased the newspaper at that time. So I've been the owner for 4 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Spreading messages. I was telling you all those things about spreading messages before the show, and you're just listening to me like, yeah, I know a few things about spreading message. Thanks.
Well, I was actually thinking you could just say my side for me. We share the same message.
That's great. So before we get into the next questions, I told you that I may fire a couple off from left field, but now I'm interested because I didn't know this because we do similar things. So how do you feel about the print industry?
Oh,
Let's talk about that real quick because you know about Metroland.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So that was big. That was like on a speakerphone telling people all in the community something about the print industry. I believe 600 people no longer had their job anymore.
Yeah.
We picked some of them up. A couple of them work with us, not, dozens or anything.
Yeah.
But I think that yelled quite loudly. In my perspective, it yelled quite loudly about the business or about a bunch of other variables. But to some people, it yelled quite loudly about print in particular.
Yeah.
So what do you think about print for spreading a message?
Quite honestly, I haven't gotten into the whole social media, online content very much over the years, because I do firmly believe in print. In my opinion, online content is great, but at any time, whoever owns that content can remove it and you'll never have it back. So whether it's your favorite book, magazine, newspaper, or music from a streaming service, if you really love something, you should support it and buy the physical copy or support it so that the physical copy can still be available. Like, if you want to own it, you got to own it. You can't just, like even if you're Googling your favorite recipe, it's not always going to be there. That kind of thing. So that was really too bad. I think there's such the wrong mindset out there that you can get your message out with social media only. It's not possible to reach every customer or reach every reader or listener. You have to be on every platform, and that includes print, TV, radio. It's not just social media.
Yeah, I agree. Well said. Well said. I mean, in the pre-show, I use the word omnipresence as something that I try to share with my clients, prospective clients, and anybody that we can provide some level of education to, because one of our main goals is educating. The way I look at marketing and that word can be defined many different ways. I think when I say that to 10 different people, it's 10 different things. To me, marketing is very simple. It is spreading your message in all ways. Maybe you're doing it at a home show. Maybe you're doing it one-to-one. You are simply sharing what you have to offer with somebody else. That's i.e. marketing. So in any way that you do that, but omnipresence, people have preferences in this day and age, and there are much more places, we call them popular playgrounds, for people to consume their information. Could be podcasts like this, could be watching a video, could be social media, could be books. I mean, you see the books behind me. I have most of those on Audible. I like to listen and read.
Yeah.
But there is nothing that immerses me more into that reading experience than having the book. I can write my notes. I can, bunny ear the pages. I just like it in my hand, the pictures.
Yes.
The audio version just does not check all the boxes. So
Yes.
I absolutely agree that, in the most perfect world, if there was no such thing as budget, you would be in all the places where people go.
Yes, I think you're quite right. Yeah.
I love it. 1977. My goodness.
47 years, a little older than me.
Now, and you alluded to it, you didn't say the word, but I think this is what you meant, is the staying power of print. We have a magazine portion of our business, so in print, just like yourself, and we will get pictures from our audience sometimes on the back of the toilet. There's like 10 of them from 2 years ago sometimes, or in the basket beside their couch. It just stays there. And I think on average, we do a lot of digital ads as well. I think on average, they last for about 3 to 7 seconds, and then they flip to another ad. So the transient nature of digital is extensive. It's up there. Whereas once it's printed, it's there. Those books are going to stay as long as maybe they go on to my kids. They stay a long time.
Yes. And I think with digital marketing, well, it's great. It grabs your attention, for those few seconds. But it makes it difficult when you're having a conversation with your spouse later and you're like, oh, we need to get someone in to do the roofing. Shoot, what was that I saw? You don't remember necessarily from those few seconds, but if your magazine or your newspaper is sitting there, you'll pick it up and say, oh yeah, it was so-and-so right here in front of me. And then you call them.
Can I bore you for a handful of pitches or marketing 101 masterclasses on print? Do you mind if I just bring you there for an hour and say, hey, we're not the only ones saying this. 47 years, that's saying something.
Yes.
So kudos to you on that. There's a few questions on the show that I look at as fundamental that really lay the groundwork for the show. They all have their reason, but some are more impactful than others. And I was telling you in the pre-show that we're just so interested in humans on this show. I mean, at the end of the day, if you are a marketer in some way, you are a storyteller. You are taking somebody's message and putting it to the ideal audience in an effective way. So you are storytelling in a way. So people's story, the why behind things. Now you have this generational print publication that goes through the family. So I think that's fantastic. But still, I find that people don't just do things because they do things. Sometimes we do. I mean, I'll find myself just walking back and forth between the TV room and the fridge, even though I've looked in the fridge 7 times and there's nothing there. I'm just running on autopilot at that point. But when we're building a business, that's a big decision. When we decide to go from being an employee to an entrepreneur, I don't know, maybe you've always been an entrepreneur, but what attracted you to this? What's the story behind this, now owning this print publication for the last 4 years?
Okay, well, I'll give you the honest answer that I only give to people very close to me. Before this, I was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years, and that's all I wanted to do. But for me to be able to do that for 14 years, my husband worked about 3 jobs on average. So when my dad announced that he was going to retire, Sean said to me, Roslyn, I think you'd be great at this. You should give it a shot. And I said, I would like to just be a stay-at-home mom, Sean. But at that point, our oldest was, 15, and then two boys after her. They didn't need me as much. So I thought, okay, it's time for me to start financially contributing to our family. And I was to put a positive spin on COVID, I was very thankful that COVID was happening at the same time that I was taking on this position, because it meant that I could learn everything from the production side, because I do all of the production as well, the layout and all that stuff on the computer. So I had lots of time to learn that without the pressure of going out to events and covering events at the same time. So that was a whole learning curve. I had a few great people to teach me, so that worked out well. But yes, that's why I took on the business, and I am really glad I did. It's increased. I'm a shy person, so it's increased my confidence. I'm now able to get out there and talk to people without hesitating too much, and yeah, it's been really wonderful.
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot to be said about when you're taking somebody's message or somebody's story. Just because of the nature of it, you have to connect with people. So, you do this for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and you reflect back on it, or I find myself doing this sometimes. It's like, how many conversations have I had with people? How many personalities have I connected with? How many lessons have I learned from people farther up the mountain than me, or maybe, a few steps behind, all different places on that journey? Like, what has been the culmination of this impact, of the impact on my life from this business? And I can't quantify it, but it's been exceptional to get us out there. I mean, personal brand, for example, we are marketers, and I was asked this question 3-4 years ago, and it's never left my mind, is we were behind the scenes. So, you'd get our print publication, you'd get our digital stuff, but you wouldn't know us. We weren't branding ourselves out there, our faces. And I remember a prospective client that I was trying to work with asked a very good question. He's like, if you're such an effective marketer, then why can't I find you anywhere? You have no social media following. You're not on LinkedIn. You are not out there. You're saying you're good at connecting with people, but I can't see your connection to anybody.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't have a good answer for you, but I'm going to answer that now. And it stuck with me. So, we created networking, all these other things to get ourselves out there and brand ourselves like we teach our business to brand them. So it has absolutely changed my life. And it does not surprise me at all that it's had the impact that it's had on you.
Mm-hmm.
So just a few takeaways. Correct me if I'm wrong. This was your father's or grandfather's?
My
generation? Father's.
father. Yeah.
So is he no longer in the business?
He is no longer in the business. He's enjoying traveling.
Yes.
And he does a ton of volunteer work. Yeah. It's just unbelievable everything he's involved in. He's definitely there for me whenever I have a question. And he does do some of the writing. Now and then he'll cover an event for me. But yeah.
So you guys actually do the writing, like you yourself?
I do. I don't enjoy the pressure of the deadline. So I try to have quite a few fantastic contributors that are in there every month, and they're very reliable and they write beautifully. So mostly I ask them to cover things. I go so I can socialize, and they go so they can do the hard part.
Yes, that's the combination. I was going to say, you have all the responsibility of does it go up monthly?
Yes.
Weekly? Monthly. So you have the pressures of making sure the ship continues forward. Then you do the layout and the production, and you do some of the writing. Do you have a photographer? Do you take the pictures?
I'll take some photos. Yep. I'm not terrible at it. I have a bit of an eye for it, not as great as Don Beaulieu. He is one of the main reporters, and his photography is just through the roof excellent. So I'm very fortunate. I inherited Don. He was working for my dad, with my dad, for a very long time, and he stuck around with me. So very grateful.
Yeah, there's nothing like having a good team. Can I ask you, what is your favorite part about it?
Oh, geez, I don't even know. It would honestly be hard to pick one thing. I love doing the layout and the design, but I am more of a person who would like to be moving versus sitting in a chair. So I think being a monthly publication is terrific because it gives me those 3 or 4 days in front of my computer to get the layout, the design done, to finish my pages. And I look forward to that time. And then once it's over, I'm like, oh, good. I don't have to sit in front of my computer again for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the only thing that out of everything, that isn't my favorite is sales, because I'm not a salesperson. And I've learned something from you already in this podcast, that I do need to get myself out there more. I keep thinking, the newspaper speaks for itself, and it really does. But I should be putting myself out there more. So that's my takeaway so far.
Oh, I'm happy that we could share that. It's made a huge difference for me. I mean, I like sharing this with people because I think it gives a little insight into me, and I think it connects. So I do a good chunk on the weekends, peer counseling at an addictions facility, which is in Newmarket, close to where I live, and then it's on Dunlop and Barrie. So they have 2 locations, and it's been involved in my life, family's life. Like, there was a portion of my life that it was just prevalent everywhere. Somebody was on some type of painkiller or alcohol or whatever it was, and it got me to integrate myself into a new community that I had no awareness of, didn't even know existed. Really, I knew from a distance, but I didn't know what it meant to be a part of this community, and it shaped my life so incredibly. And the lesson that I learned from there was there are so many communities out there. Like, my ignorance vastly outweighs my knowledge.
Yes.
On a massive scale. And I just realized, I open up this door to this new community, and it has had such a profound impact on my life. What would it be like if I hadn't got involved with this community or volunteered here or there? In my earlier stages of life, 37 now, in my 20s, it was about what can I get? What can I take? It was very self-absorbed. And I think I was limiting myself in a big way. And I don't think it was really fulfilling, but I thought that's how you accumulated the things that I wanted to accumulate, was what can I get? I never thought that accumulating way more than I would ever want, and accumulation in itself is not the thing that drives quality of life, that it would be to what can I give?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would really provide so much fulfillment. So into that addiction community, so much impact. That led me to volunteering there. Mm-hmm. And then that led me to the next charity, and then the next event. And now you're just a part of this community, and it's no longer going there to attract more business. It's going there because I'm attracted to people. Mm-hmm. And I learned so much about people. And that really, thankfully, that these two coincide together, has been the main driver of my business. Is rather than me saying to myself, I got to get out there because I have to drive my business forward, it's more like, what do I enjoy to do? Well, learning about people and their story, and how willing people are to let you pick their brain by just going up to them, is an incredible thing. And so that was one of the ways that I got out there, is just, what am I interested in? Volunteer at this charity, that. And I just forgot about the personal brand. It was more just driving curiosity. And that has been a profound impact. So yeah, our communities are a special place to be. Whereabouts are you? Are you actually in Simcoe?
Yes, in Anton Mills.
Anton Mills. Okay. So
yes.
Like right near Springwater.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And actually our family was featured in your magazine about a year ago. Yeah, awesome. That was really great. Really great.
Maybe it's time for a redo.
Yeah, maybe. And actually my husband is one of the Springwater firefighters. So right when the photo shoot was about to begin, he got a call and had to leave. So he's not in any of the photos.
So then we definitely need a redo, because we need to give thanks to our firefighters and, just to another great local family.
Yeah.
Well, it's very cool. I'm going to have to pick your brain a little about that after the show. So it has been like 20 minutes, and I'm 2 questions in, which I am known to do. So we talked about this a little bit. We asked the question about myths and misconceptions, kind of another really important question here, because people have information in their head. It doesn't mean it's accurate, but it does mean that information is going to drive decision-making. And if I have information in my head like seatbelts aren't important, then I'm going to make a decision to get in the car and not wear a seatbelt. And we know how that could go. Yeah. So to clarify some myths and misconceptions, we talked about print already, and you gave a great answer of the efficacy of print and staying power and ownership. I've never heard somebody say that before. Like, if you really want to own it, you got to own it. You can't own a digital billboard. But are there any other myths or misconceptions that you could clarify for the business owners that may want to sponsor your newspaper, or for audience members that may not know it's available or the benefit of reading it? Something that comes to mind that you could clarify for us regarding your business.
Okay. Well, as you know, I did script some of my answers, and I am off script, I will admit. But that what we discussed earlier was going to be the one thing I wanted to mention. But another good point is that I think the agricultural community is just really misunderstood. And the Farmview newspaper is a fantastic way for people who don't live a farming life to learn about our ag community and perhaps show them a little more appreciation. So I think there's a huge misconception of our farmers, and that needs to be dispelled.
Yeah, and I would be a part of that. Again, ignorance vastly outweighs my knowledge, but certainly in this field. So when you say agriculture, can you just give me a little insight into that farming community? What else goes into it? Do we have a large agricultural community in Simcoe County?
Oh my gosh, it's massive. It's massive. Oh, I really wish I had my numbers handy from this past issue that I just finished. Yeah, it's unbelievable. The number of people that are employed in Simcoe County through an ag-based business, whether they're direct farmers or they're trucking or they're selling produce. Like the Simcoe County is actually, I'm giving a shout out to Dave Ritchie right now, the Simcoe County Federation Agriculture President. He constantly says Simcoe County is the salad bowl of Ontario. Like we literally farm everything imaginable, every crop, every vegetable, every meat, just Simcoe County covers everything that you could possibly need to survive. So yeah, it's Simcoe County is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And that's such a vital piece for me, because I've worked in Simcoe County for many years, and I plan to be moving there before 2024 because my time is up in Aurora. Nothing's keeping me here, and everything that I love is in Simcoe County. It just fits me. The water, the mountains. I'm an outdoor kind of guy. I love nature, but my sports are there, my people are there, my team's there.
Yeah.
But I've never been involved in the farming community, the agricultural world, yet I'm benefiting from all of their work without giving many thanks or appreciation.
Probably 3 to 4 times a day you're benefiting because you're eating.
So that's really important for me. It was like I was saying about the addiction community. There's many doors that haven't been opened. You open it up and it's like, oh my God, there's this whole other world in there. I didn't grow up around farms. I grew up in city and suburbs. So it just hasn't been a part of my life yet. They are a huge part of my life. Like you said, 3 or 4 times a day, I eat like 5 or 6. I eat a lot of food.
I didn't want to say, you never know, but you look like you work out, so I assumed.
Thank you. Fitness is a big part of my life, but to know that, and to know that I imagine they're a strong driver of the economy out there.
Massive. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's great. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And that's one of the points to these podcasts, right? It's not just for us to interview, but also for us to learn. And that's how we connect with people. So yeah, I think that's really great information. Something that I'm going to spend a little bit more time on building my awareness of, seeing how I can give a little bit more appreciation to the unseen in my life.
Yes, exactly. And just to mention as well, it's not just Simcoe County. Ontario is highly regarded, and Canada is highly regarded across the world for our farming practices and all of the advances that our farmers have made. So we are top shelf here, that's for sure.
Love it. Well, thank you to the top shelf farmers out there putting in that labor and toil day in, day out to feed this hungry guy and many other people. I couldn't do the gym the way I do the gym without your nutritious food.
That's right.
It's 20 years of doing this. I've never given thanks to the farmers. So long overdue thanks to the farmers. I appreciate what you do. Now, getting a little bit into Roslyn, outside of the business, we've learned a little bit about you, but we'd like to learn a little bit more. I like to start off with a bit of a playful question. we ask the entrepreneurs, the guests that come on the show, what do you do for fun? And now that we're a couple hundred episodes in, I would say 7 or 8 or more out of 10 say, well, I just love my business. And honestly, I'm saying this facetiously because we want to know more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that so many of them say that, because there's so many people out there that do not enjoy their work and they have to do it for 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day. And that's a huge chunk of our life.
Yes.
Outside of our sleep, our work is the next. I would say we work more than we sleep in many cases. So if you do love your business, which it seems like you do, I'm very happy about that. But outside of your business, what puts a smile on your face?
Well, number one is being outside. I've always told the kids, if there's ever anything uncomfortable, you need to tell me. Just take me outside, and we won't. Like I feel at peace outside. I feel calm outside. I love being outside, whatever time of the year. We snowboard in the winter. In the summer, my favorite thing to do is simply to go to the beach. We like to kayak. I like to lay on the beach and sleep in the sunshine. Those are a few of my favorite things. I also really love to cook. That's one of my favorite things to do all year round. And other than that, it sounds corny, but being a stay-at-home mom for so long, I really just love it when my kids walk in the door. That makes my day.
How old are your kids now?
18, 17, and almost 14.
And listen, we like corny on here because normally if it's labeled corny, that means it's important.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I look at it. If you love being a mom, I was just talking about this in the last episode about fatherhood. I'm not a father yet, but I have a great relationship with my parents. Very blessed to feel that way. They've been a huge influence on my life. And for me, I don't really look at anything more important than being a parent. I mean, literally creating a human. It's crazy that I've taken that for granted for so long that we just do this. It's pretty incredible that we can replicate ourselves with a mixture of some cells, but then this lifelong commitment of mentorship and care and love and sacrifice and all that. It's all the great things that it's all the positive attributes of the good side of humans all into one little scenario. So if you love being a mom, I don't think there's anything higher than that. But snowboarding, you snowboard as well?
Yes. And that's a funny story how we started that.
Do tell.
We have lived in Enton Mills for 10 years. And previous to here, we lived in the south end of Barrie, off Ardagh Road. And it was winter time, and I was curled up in a chair really close to the window trying to get as much sun on me as possible. And Sean said, okay, we need to do something to make the winter enjoyable, because I was not in a place where I was enjoying the winter for the most part. So he started snowboarding, and then he went out, I think, with our daughter at the time, who was quite young, and then he got Lily and I a couple lessons so we could figure it out, and then he continued to teach us. And then it was the boys' turn. Harry is our youngest, and he's been snowboarding since he was 3. He was quite cute going down the hill on his board. So yeah, and it just turned into a really fantastic, again, way for our family to spend time together. Going up the chairlift, we could have conversations and just hang out together and go in the cafe after and have a bite and spend time with one another. And it makes the winter enjoyable. Once you get out and find something to do, it goes by so much faster.
Yeah, no, there seems to be this common thread. Now that we've had this opportunity, again, one of the selfish reasons that I started this podcast was because I'm just so interested in humans. I mean, that's why I read the books, to learn about other humans' lives and learn from the wisdom of their experiences, whether they're long dead or alive today. But just very interested in humans. And it seems like a common thread when you ask somebody what do they really enjoy doing, nature comes up constantly.
Yeah.
There's something about it. I mean, I think a lot of us know the benefits biologically and physiologically from the sun, but there's more than that. Just going into a forest, just being outside. I think there's something innate about humans being outside. Not going to get into the whole evolution topic. We could probably talk about that all afternoon, but there is something there. And then connection with other people. You didn't say to me, it's the speed going down the hills and doing tricks and going off jumps and all that. I'm sure you enjoy all of that, but it was being outside. Even mentioned the chairlift, probably the most boring part for people on a snowboarding hill and also the coldest, right? But even on the chairlift, we can have conversations. Then we can get, hot chocolate afterwards. So I think it's just an amazing thing. Nature and connection seem to be something the vast majority of us humans enjoy. I'm glad you do too.
I agree.
So off of the playful a little bit, but still onto the important. I would argue that this is probably one or the second most important question that we ask, and it's about the hardships, trials, and tribulations that a human faces. And I like to preface it a little bit like, why do we ask this? Just to make people uncomfortable? No, of course, that's not the reason. The reason is, I think, the light and dark are both as important in life, period. And I think the dark sides of it, there's still a stigma there, maybe a fear of ridicule or embarrassment or judgment. If I'm not succeeding at this, then that means, what does that mean? I'm a failure and I shouldn't share that with people. I love this line, we're either winning or we're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah, there is no loss. I look at failure as not even, I used to say quitting. Like if there's something you really want to do and you decided it's too hard, you let your fear override you and you've quit, fine. For me, that is a failure. Outside of that, we're experiencing, we're learning. And I often find that through the hardest things in my life, I have been given the opportunity to grow the most. Mm-hmm. When you're winning, like even if you win at a sport, that's just reinforcing your mind that everything you did was right. Keep doing what you're doing. But if you take a loss and you learn there, you have the opportunity to get better. So we want to be a part of the push that empowers people a little bit in the smallest little way that we can to get them to confront their non-winning or their learning experience, their hardships, and understand them a little bit more, but share them with other people because it takes the potency right out from underneath it. As soon as you share them with other people and you find out they don't judge you for it, often they don't try to embarrass you or ridicule you because they resonate with it. Like, yeah, I've had my butt kicked a couple of times too. We want to be a part of that. So we like to ask the guests on the show, whatever you're comfortable with sharing, either personal or business or intertwined, is there anything in your life that probably did not feel so good when you're going through it? As hard often doesn't feel good. It comes with some level of pain. Our body lets us know that we're going through something hard. Mm-hmm. So when you went through it, probably didn't feel good, but when you look back on it in hindsight, you wouldn't remove that ingredient from the soup that is Roslyn because it's led you to being who you are today.
Yes, exactly. And that is something I feel very strongly about, that whatever we've suffered, whatever we've gone through is such a huge part of who we are. And there's always a positive, always. I lost my mom 5 years ago. That has given me so much empathy for other people that I did not have before experiencing that part of my life. So even if it's just like looking at someone in the coffee lineup beside me and they look like they're having a bad day, like being extra nice or just giving them a minute, like just that empathy. However, what I did want to say is how grateful I am for where I'm at in my life, because that is pretty much the only hardship, losing my mom, that I've had. About 5 years ago, became friends with a young man who's homeless in Barrie, and we see Shalom a lot. We consider him part of our family when, we're out there in the neighborhood. And he is only in his 20s. And when I look at what he endures every single day, I just admire his strength to keep going. It is unbelievable. So I guess I kind of take his hardship to heart for me. And I'm very grateful. I know that I'm where I am simply due to circumstance. I was born here, raised here, had nothing to do with me. It was pure circumstance where my parents landed and how fortunate I was to be brought up where I was. So comparing someone else's, I shouldn't use the word comparing, but using someone else's hardship to me, it just really reflects how fortunate I am. And I'm grateful for that every single day.
Well
and
said.
That's pretty much my thought on that.
Well, first off, it takes a great deal of courage to talk about passing so recent. I mean, 5 years may sound like a long time to some people, but I know if one of my parents passed, which are a big part of the glue to my life, 5 years would not feel like a long time. And I could see the impact that it had just on your face. So thank you for that. It takes a great deal of courage. And that's kind of the whole point to this is with your friend that does not have a home right now. We see that all the time in the addictions facility. And sometimes, I think they really nailed it with the yin and the yang. They have that light side with a touch of dark in it. Positive you can't have without any negative. You will have some. And then the dark side, the negative, with a touch of positives. You can't have one without the other. But I do think sometimes we get caught up in our own world and we forget how vast and different the rest of the world is. So sometimes I have to get myself in this place, read a book, go somewhere, try to understand someone else's story to maybe help them in some way, to learn something about other people's experiences, maybe to empathize, at the very least, to understand all that I have and be a little bit more grateful, as I think gratitude is a hell of a mindset to live your life through. So I love that you shared a story with us and almost shared, I think you shared somebody else's story's impact on you, which is the point of that question.
Yes.
Learning from somebody else's hardship, how it can benefit us. And it did not seem at all like you were judging this person. To me, it seemed like you empathized with this person and now they become a friend of yours, someone that you care for in some way when you see them. And that's one of my favorite parts about humanity is we don't need to be winning and quote unquote succeeding in societal terms all the time to be accepted.
Yes.
If we just share who we are, our experience as close to reality as possible, I think we give ourselves the opportunity to really connect with other people and that there's much less judgment than we may think.
And that's
no, please.
Whenever we see Shalom in town, like whether it's me or my husband or the kids, like we walk over to them, we embrace them. How are you? What can we do for you today? How are you doing? Because I just feel sometimes it's so important, whoever it is in your life, but it is so important to let that person know that they matter, that somebody is thinking about them. And I feel quite strongly about this young guy. Like, I just want to let him know, hey, I'm thinking about you all the time. So just keep going, because you just never know what kind of difference that you might make to someone. And, we should do it to our loved ones too. Like, not just people that we like to help in general, but everyone you care about. Let them know that they matter.
Yeah. I remember one of my mentors, just lightly, this wasn't the point of this conversation, our conversation, but it came to connection. We were talking about connection in some way. And she told me, it's interesting, women, I've had great male mentors in my life, but often when I bring it up, it's always a woman that's had such a great impact on me. And I haven't quite figured out what the ingredients are to that, but women have had a great impact on me. And she told me, she's like, if you're thinking about somebody in a positive way, just send them a text. Just let them know. Yeah. Just share your thoughts. Just simple. Thinking of you. Hope you have a great day.
Yeah.
10 seconds, maybe lifting them up in a moment they need to be lifted up in. But it's just that shared experience, letting people know that you are on our minds sometimes can have this profound effect, and it takes very little effort. And it also changes our mindset a little bit to think about us less and a little bit more about others. So you pretty much just nailed it. And I would encourage you to start your own podcast, Roslyn, because you're killing it.
Considering how nervous I am, that's great.
Well, it's not showing. And as I said at the beginning, when people are comfortable enough to go into these deeper conversations, I think that's why people decide to listen, because they resonate with these things. All the things that you're saying, some people know deep down, maybe haven't admitted yet or have, and know the impact that it's had on their life. I think all of us humans are much more similar than we are different. And I think there's certain main ingredients that we all find uncomfortable or comfortable, or ways of connecting. And I think you pretty much just nailed it. No one has ever shared a hardship from someone else that has impacted them on the show in over 200 episodes, but you. So you shared your own and your impact of somebody else's on you. I think that's a very beautiful thing. Back to business. All that you know about spreading a message, ingrained into your DNA, essentially, almost 50 years.
Maybe.
so much information inside your head that's become common to you that's not common to many people that sponsor or the newspaper or could use marketing effectively for small, medium businesses. If there was one or two things that you could distill down from all that information that you wish the audience knew about FarmView, what would it be?
Okay, well, I am really fortunate. FarmView readers are unbelievably loyal. So if they have a choice between an advertisement that's in the FarmView or something they may have Googled, they will choose the advertisement in the FarmView. They're incredibly loyal. They're incredibly lovely. They're wonderful readers. I'm getting off topic here thinking about them actually.
Blessing to have such great people.
The people in the ag community are just unbelievable. They really are hardworking, like you can't even imagine. I mean, well, I'm sure you can. But yeah, I don't actually know where I was going with all that. So,
well, let's try to drive it back on track.
Okay.
If you could let your audience know, people that maybe haven't heard of you yet or have been getting it, like especially business owners, that could help put that newspaper could help them get their message out there. What would you want them to know about what you do, the impact that it could have? You've already let us know about your readership, how loyal they are, but what would be beneficial for them to know?
I guess that the FarmView does provide very good coverage. It hits every farm household, like I said, in Central Ontario and most of North Ontario. On top of that, it does get delivered to a lot of grocery stores and greenhouses, farm equipment rental stores. So like, it's not just people in the farm community that are reading it. There are a ton of readers that are like yourself and myself off a farm property who really enjoy the paper as well. I do try very hard each month to make sure that there's something literally of interest in there for anybody, whether it's, recipes or there's a beautiful spiritual column in there every month. Funny farm anecdotes from Farmer Tim. There's fire safety from one of my most terrific neighbors, retired fire chief. And there's just so much education provided, whether you're part of the farm community or not. There's literally always something new to read, something new to learn. So it makes it, I think it just makes the paper, more, I'm going to use the word interesting. It's not the word I mean, but more, I'll say interesting, for everyone, no matter who you are, no matter your age. Yeah. So I think everyone should just pick up a copy and read it.
Oh, I love that. And I think interesting is a great word. I mean, at the end of the day, human beings don't really, we're boredom adverse, right? Yeah. I mean, if something is boring, it's going to detract us from consuming it. So if at the very least you can make it interesting and then you add educational content as well, and then another layer of business awareness, that's a lot, right? That gets us more involved with our community, helps businesses get out there to impact the lives on a deeper level than they currently are by spreading their message. It's the same idea that we do. I love that you're focused not just on the agricultural, but you share the information that way for people. You share the information about the agricultural community that even can be interesting to those that are not involved in the agricultural community, maybe like myself. Like after you've talked to me about this, you've sold me on, going and having a look and seeing what's in there for me. I'm interested now. And that's the point of this show. And you've nailed it. So I'm glad that was your point, is that it's for everybody. It's educational. It's interesting. And
it's fun. I try to put some of my humor in there. I hope people get it. I'm chuckling. When I write my own stuff, I'm in here chuckling.
Well, then it's a win, right? If you can laugh, that's my litmus test. If I'm laughing, somebody else out there has to have my sense of humor.
Yes,
even if it's dry and witty and whatever. If I'm laughing, something's going right. No, that's great. So my secret question, I always leave this in there because we have some scripters on the show. So as I was saying before, half of this show is about the business and services. We want our audience to know about the business and services out there because maybe they have a need and maybe it can increase the quality of their life. But we like to put as much effort or more on the person. What are your character traits? What are your values? Get to know this person because we can resonate with them. So this question is about impact. I only talk about a handful of things in life, and most of them come out on the show. Fatherhood, I think, is a big deal for me. I don't think it is a big deal for me. Purpose, your values, entrepreneurship is a big one. Wealth creation, doing hard things. But this one is about impact. This is one of the leading drivers to my life. And again, came from another mentor. She taught me in my 20s, very lucky to meet her when my life was kind of fumbling all over the place. I compare it to like a pinball on a pinball machine. I'm bouncing all over the place from things outside of my control. I'm just the ball. Somebody else is bouncing me everywhere. I had no design. There was no blueprint. So she encouraged me to think about my impact. In the simplest sense, she told me, you're born, you die. What's your impact on this planet? And some people think legacy. I don't consider legacy so much because I'll be dead and gone. So the way I like to look at it is, what am I doing now? And what's its effect on this planet for however long I will be here? So I like to ask the guests on the show, Roslyn, what do you want your impact to be?
Well, that's a really great question. And it's actually something I used to think when I wasn't working, because I had it in my head that if I wasn't working, in quotations, with, earning a paycheck, that I wasn't contributing as much as I should or having an impact. So it took me a little while to realize the impact that I want to leave doesn't need to be tied to my business or work. I think that's important for some people and in their jobs, like it would be. But for me, my impact, I honestly think, is just going out every day, being a true person, being an honest person. I value those things more than anything else. And just making sure that as best as I can, because I am also a human, but, just to make sure that I don't upset someone else's day, I guess, is one way to say it. Like, going to the gym, like someone isn't going to be like, oh, she looked at me funny, like I think my impact is just making people feel welcome. Maybe that could sum it up instead of me going on and on.
I love it, and we're comfortable with you going on and on. But if that's the statement you want to go with, what I'm hearing is just simply about having a positive impact on other people, which I imagine makes you feel good about you, right?
It really does. It absolutely does. Yeah. I do volunteer in our community, the Ant Mills community I live in. We all do. But one of my roles is to change our sign out on the road, to put up birthday greetings, anniversary greetings, whatever somebody in the neighborhood wants it to say. And normally, when it's not being rented, I'll put up something funny or lighthearted. And I've had so many strangers stop me when I'm out there changing the messages to say, I love reading this on my way to work every day. And it just encourages me, to keep going, making a small difference in someone else's life.
That's it. I was talking about this on the last episode. I don't think two things when it comes to our effect or our impact. I don't think us humans can really see how far it goes. Like if you make me laugh and that brings up my energy to a different frequency, if you want to say that, or at least I'm more joyful now, I'm going to bring that energy to somebody else. And maybe that makes them more joyful and spread and spread and spread and spread. So when someone says, I just want to put one smile on one person's face, it goes way beyond that, way, way, way beyond that. And that's enough. Just lifting up one person. And then the other part I would say is, that's why I asked you, does it make you feel good about you when you're helping other people? Like, we're lucky, I think. If selflessness, I was helping you, but constantly made me feel bad, people already struggle sometimes to help other people. when it does feel good. Could you imagine if it felt bad to help another person? Our world would be a different place. But it feels great, right? I mean, I am at the top of my priority list. Maybe I'll change that when I have kids one day. I really hope I don't, because as long as I take care of myself, I can be a role model for others to take care of themselves. And I think I'm a better version of myself when I'm giving myself what I need, and therefore can pour more energy into other people. But that's a different story. But right now I'm at the top of my priority list, and to really give myself what I need to be out there helping other people, because few things feel as good as that. Yes. So if that's what your impact is to put a smile on other people's face, not bring negative to their life or bring some joy to your life, I mean, what more could you ask for?
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't have to be big. It can be small.
That's it. I love it. A little side question, as you brought up humor a few times. What do you do for laugh? Do you stand-up comedy?
No. Oh my gosh.
Sitcoms? Do you read? What do you do?
I do enjoy watching stand-up comedy, but fairly clean comedy. Like Jim Gaffigan is one of my favorites.
He's great.
Thoroughly enjoy him. Holy Toledos. I don't enjoy comedians that swear a lot. That's not my style.
Okay.
But mostly for humor, if I can be goofy in the kitchen when the kids are trying to do their homework and I get a laugh out of them, that's the best. Or, I can get my husband to laugh. That's the best too.
So is it wit that drives them to laugh, or do you do a dance move? Like, what's your secret move to get people laughing?
It can be a combination.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so you're a striver for laughter. I love it.
Yeah.
Another great pleasure of life. Well, Roslyn, it has been a pleasure to speak to you. Before we go, how do people get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of FarmView if they don't have it delivered to them now? And they got questions. They got some interest.
All right. You can phone me. Should I rhyme off the phone number?
Absolutely, if you want.
Okay. Yep. All right. So that's 705-722-0138. Mm-hmm. You could email me. I guess as much as I say this about online content, of course, I have a website. And that is farmviewonline.com. So you can get all my contact info there, and then shoot me an email or a phone call, and I can tell you where to find the FarmView.
So farmviewonline.com, they can get phone number, email, any way to contact you.
Yes, and there is a Facebook page. The wonderful lady that puts the paper is also available on the website each month, so it's physical and it is available online. So my web lady who does that, she convinced me that I should have a Facebook page. So there is a Facebook page as well.
FarmView.
Yeah, just FarmView, something like that.
So if you're whoever's listening, if you're stuck and you type in FarmView Simcoe County, I'm sure you're going to get what you want. Otherwise, farmviewonline.ca and then just .com.
Sorry.
Farmviewonline.com. My correction. Thank you. And then Facebook FarmView on Google. Super, super simple. Well, Roslyn, it was a pleasure. I loved all your scripted answers, and you hung in there with me with the non-scripted. That was just great getting to know you. And this was a pleasure for me. All the conversations are really quite a treat, but this one especially because we think in a similar way when it comes to what we do. And you're helping us fight that print battle.
Yes.
I think the stigma out there is far and away incorrect in most people's minds. Not all. I think some people are catching the trend, but print is definitely here to stay in many different versions of it. And I love what you do. Most importantly, I love the passion that you have behind it. I can see it in your face when you're talking about it, the community, the connection, the loyalty, the readers, putting a laugh on their face. We need more people doing that. I'm glad you are. And it was just a pleasure speaking to you.
Same to you. Thank you. Thank you for making me comfortable.
Well, that is the greatest compliment you can ever give a host. Really, it's the same thing at the facility on the weekend. If you can provide a space of comfort, there is no greater compliment. So you just put a smile on my face, and I appreciate that. You have a great day, Roslyn.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.